Hey guys, Baddies Africa Reunion, episode 3 review / recap. If you're watching me on TikTok, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube. And if you're watching me on YouTube, make sure you follow me on TikTok. And I'm going to just start by saying overall, this is one of the worst Baddies reunions we've gotten. And this was definitely one of the worst Baddies reunion episodes we've gotten. This episode felt completely unnecessary. It was a lot of talking where people didn't really get nowhere. Like Rolly and Natalie did a lot of talking, didn't really get nowhere. Diamond and Natalie, same thing. Rolly, Tommy, and Natalie, like, it's just a lot of talking, but y'all not really getting nowhere. Y'all not really making up. Y'all not making the issues clear to us. Y'all not fighting. So it's like, what's the point of this episode? Then the people that did fight or try to talk, it was like the same fights and conversations that we've been seeing all season. Lex versus Fauna, Lex versus Tavy, Dolly versus K-Rican, Dolly versus Tavy, Summer versus K-Rican. Like, it's just the same stuff that we've been seeing all this time. Cold Killer and Dolly. Then when it came to the dialogue, like I said, the arguments was the same shit we've been hearing over and over again. Lex and Anna, Lex and Scotty, Lex and Tavy. It's just like, I don't care about half of this stuff. Y'all could just hurry up and get to Baddies USA. So Natalie gets DTB, and like I said, DTB should have got up. Natalie made it clear that she was on that. She gave DTB a fair warning. DTB didn't get up. By the time Natalie threw that mic and started running, DTB should have already been up so she could defend herself. So Natalie did get that round, and I can't really call it a sneak because you was looking right at her and she kept asking you to fight. And even if Natalie did sneak Diamond, I still couldn't really say nothing because Diamond had snuck Natalie before. So it is what it is. Natalie got her lick back. Now, what I didn't like was Tavy jumping in the fight. I don't care if she's saying she was jumping in or if she's just trying to say she was holding DTB down so Natalie could get more hits. Both are jumping and both are wrong, especially because from what we saw, you was cool with both of them all season. She trying to say DTB was never her friend. From what we saw in the season, you was cool and close with both of them. You and DTB started on the wrong foot, but by the end of the season, y'all was real cool. So what happened? Now, she did try to say something about her and DTB having a booking and DTB leaving her on the side of the road. I don't know how true that is. I never heard DTB respond or speak on it. If DTB did that to Tavy, then she is wrong, and I guess that's why Tavy don't consider her a friend no more. But either way, you have no reason to jump in a one-on-one fight. Mind your business. So after Natalie got the round, she started walking backstage and she basically was saying she not giving DTB another round and she know DTB not going to be able to sleep over this shit, and that's exactly what she want. She got her lick back and now she just want to drive DTB crazy because DTB not going to be able to get that again. That's how Natalie wants to phrase it, but in my opinion, she was ducking wreck. Because once Diamond saw all these knots and stuff, I think she really got mad and she really was going to tear Natalie. And I think Natalie knew that. Like, okay, now she's actually mad and she's not playing with me no more, so now I don't want to fight no more. Because DTB be low-key playing sometimes. So now DTB's mad. She's trying to run backstage to where Natalie is. So then Lex, Summer, and Dolly see that. They all get up and start running, you know, because they always want to have Natalie back and be the Chinians. So then Fauna, Pretty P, Tommy, and a few other people got up and went after Lex, Summer, and Dolly. Like, hold on. Y'all not about to jump Diamond for Natalie. We all behind Diamond, too. So everybody ended up backstage for a minute, but then Santana was like, they not even really doing nothing. Like, bring them back out. Everybody ran backstage for nothing because nothing happened. Natalie's long gone at her trailer with LJ. And Janisha and Santana was just telling DTB the same thing I just said. Like, girl, Natalie made it clear she wanted to fight you. Why you ain't move? Why you ain't get up? And DTB talking about, I thought she was playing. I didn't think she was serious. Like, no, girl. She was dead serious. And I know DTB says Zeus had told her to lay off Natalie and she agreed, so they gave her an extra check on the reunion. And like I said, that's cool. When Natalie came out, I feel like Diamond held up her end of the deal. She didn't immediately attack Natalie, and she wasn't on that with Natalie. So she did what she had to do as far as laying off of Natalie to get her extra check. But once you saw that Natalie was on that with you, all of that deal, extra check stuff goes out of the window. And you could deal with that with Zeus later on and say, listen, I should still get my check because she attacked me. I just defended myself. I held up my end of the deal. I laid off of her. But you should have got on that. Like, so Natalie came and she was standing right there where they could see her, but they couldn't get to her. And she was like, oh, big three, like basically calling the big three to get on DTB. And she was like, yeah, I'm not fighting her no more. I'm bored with her. So she's telling her Chinians, if DTB try to get at her, they better jump in, basically. And Rolly was like, well, we can move on from this because at this point, Natalie's not coming out and she don't want to give Diamond another round. Like, we wasting time here. So DTB is extremely worked up now. She's like, bring Natalie back outside. Natalie's loving it. She's cackling because DTB is mad. Then when they do bring Natalie back out to the stage, they got DTB backstage again. When Natalie came out, she made it clear that she didn't want to fight Rolly. She said Rolly's her baddie sister. They not seeing eye to eye right now, but she's not fighting Rolly and they can handle their beef next season on Baddies USA. Rolly went for the bullshit and basically agreed, you know, not to fight Natalie. Maybe she got the same extra check to lay off of Natalie that DTB got. But Rolly basically was like, I still want to talk about what happened so that the fans could understand what went wrong. So they get to talking about the whole Rolly, Tommy, and Natalie situation again. And like it came out before, it basically seemed like Natalie was trying to put all the blame on Amber because Amber wasn't really there. So instead of Natalie taking accountability for going back and forth between Tommy and Rolly and trying to reignite their beef even after they squashed it, she's blaming all of that on Amber because Amber's not here to defend herself. Do I believe Natalie? Absolutely not. I think it was her. I don't think it was Amber. And Rolly continuously keeps saying she never had a conversation with Amber. So that's pretty much impossible. And Tommy said the same thing. She never had a solo conversation with Amber because her and Amber allegedly shared the same nigga at some point. So she like, yeah, we was cordial because we were celebrity guests, but we wasn't really having full-on conversations like that. So what Natalie's saying don't make no sense. Amber couldn't be the one to go back and forth between Tommy and Rolly when they both saying they never talked to her. Then Rolly started talking about how Natalie and her hairstylist fell out. And when they fell out, the hairstylist basically revealed that Natalie was talking about Rolly, calling her a fat B, saying she didn't want Rolly in her room. And Rolly like, I thought we was cool. Me and Natalie came into this season the closest we've ever been, basically. Tommy on the side inserting herself and going to tell Rolly, oh, sometimes you be lying, Rolly. Rolly didn't even respond to Tommy. She should have, because Rolly, you hate when people lie. Do not lie. So don't let Tommy say you be lying. You better defend yourself. But Rolly basically said, she was questioning how close her and Natalie really were because she felt like it was kind of out of convenience or by default because the people that Natalie really hangs out with and goes shopping with, like Jayla and Low London, weren't there this season. Then they cut to showing Anna and DTB backstage. Anna was asking DTB what does she want to do, and she basically said, I want to fight Natalie, but you see they got this fortress around me, and every time they bring her on stage, I got to come backstage. Natalie claimed she was taking accountability for talking about Rolly to the hairstylist, but she really didn't take no accountability. She basically tried to say that what was said wasn't that serious. Then Rolly said she needed a wig when they was in London. Natalie told her she got her. Natalie gave her a wig with a bald spot, but then she gave Lex a good wig. So then Lex was smiling and smirking, feeling like she's the chosen one by Natalie. Because why you giving Lex a better wig than Rolly? And Rolly is your longtime OG. Then Rolly basically started getting into the fact that she would have never even came up to Natalie's room if Natalie didn't invite her. So she basically like, you was talking about me to the hairstylist saying, get that fat B out of here. I don't want nobody in my room. But the only reason I came upstairs to your room was because you asked me to come. Rolly said I was busy playing with my rose and I could have stayed there. Long story short, Natalie didn't want to fight Rolly, and Rolly didn't want to fight Natalie. I feel like Natalie was scared to fight Rolly, and for whatever reason, Rolly has this sisterly bond with Natalie that she can't seem to look over. It's starting to remind me of Natalie and Tanisha's friendship. Like, Tanisha will always forgive Natalie, even though for the past 20 years, we've seen Natalie play in her face. Natalie convinced Rolly and Tommy that they need to stop letting outsiders like Amber Rose start problems between the baddies who are, consistent or OGs. And Rolly was just saying that she was very disappointed to hear that Natalie was talking about her because she met Natalie even before Baddies. She met Natalie way back when she was on One More Chance. And that was somebody she really looked up to, this, that, and the third. They not going to fight. And from what we see on Baddies USA, they cool. So I'm done with the Natalie and Rolly bullshit. And Rolly says she was just trolling Natalie online. She don't want the CEO job. But she did say that she do feel like she was kind of doing Natalie's job. And she did stand on that. She said Natalie wasn't in the house. She wasn't getting to know the girl. She was out eating and shopping. So she stand on what she said. But she don't want the job permanently. But she do feel like she did it these last few seasons. So while Rolly was busy trying to still clock Natalie and let her know, like, yeah, I do feel like I did your job, she decided to basically get distracted by DTB. So DTB was throwing stuff from backstage, still saying she wanted to fight Natalie. So she threw something and Natalie started reacting and responding to DTB like, aha, which basically made her get out of the conversation she was having with Rolly. So Natalie was like, if you're going to throw some shit, make sure it hits me. Let's go. And DTB was like, did y'all hear her? She said one more round. Let's go. So the security started letting DTB walk back on stage. Here goes Natalie walking backstage again. Like, then she starts telling DTB she's getting fat. They're no longer in the same weight class. It's about to be Natalie the body. It ain't going to be no more Diamond the body. And DTB was complaining like, oh, you ran up on me. Let's do it fair. And Natalie said, no, F that. You snuck me multiple times and it wasn't fair when you did that to me, which is true. But like DTB said, she will sneak somebody, but then she will give them the fair fight. We've seen her sneak multiple people, but whenever they ask for the fair round after, she don't hesitate to give them that. So that's what makes her and Natalie different right now. So DTB was screaming, line that shit up. Then she started screaming, look at Natalie Duckin wrecking this bitch. The audience was loving it. Then Natalie was trying to irritate DTB even more. She started saying how her music is doing better than DTB music, even though DTB really does take her rap career seriously. Natalie says, as far as the rap, she's just playing around. But her music is making more noise than Diamond music. And it is kind of crazy because Diamond is signed to a label now. She signed to 1501, which is Megan's old label. She did just get signed to them, so we have to give them some time to do something with her. But she should be out there a little bit more, being signed to a label that we saw push somebody like Megan. But she still got to be careful with that in general because 1501 also did Megan dirty monetarily. So I hope that that was the right business move for Diamond overall. Then DTB had made an odd comment. She basically said, oh, after you run it with me this time, you don't got to see me ever again. And Natalie was like, oh, please, you said that before. And then DTB going to say, no, trust me, you don't got to worry about me riding in on horses or none of that. And Tommy was like, hold on, riding in on horses, because who else was DTB referring to when she said that? She basically was referring to Tommy continuously coming back and dragging this beef that she got with Natalie. And every season she comes, she try to make a grand entrance and make the episode that she has about her, because she only comes for 1 or 2 episodes. She doesn't stay the whole season. So Natalie goes walking backstage, still popping the same shit. DTB ain't gonna be able to sleep. She got worked and she ain't giving her no fair round because DTB never give her a fair round. So once Natalie left, shit honestly was quiet. They could have ended it right here, but I guess they said we need 3 episodes worth of content. So Janisha turns to Dolly and she's like, oh, did y'all get all y'all licks out? And Santana was like, no, they didn't. So he's amping the big 3 to get up and start fighting again. And like I said, they're going to just end up fighting the same girls that we already saw them fight when they came out. So Dolly gets up to fight K-Rican. Dolly got that, but that's not surprising. Just like none of the rest of these fights are surprising because we've seen them before. We've seen them before this reunion, and we've also seen them throughout the season. Every time Dolly and K-Rican fight, Dolly wins. Every time Lex and Fauna fight, Lex wins, except for that one round when Fauna had got Lex and had her crashing out. Every time Lex fights Tavy, Lex wins. It's like 9 times out of 10 these fights go the same way. I don't need to see 10 rounds of the same bitches fighting. So like I said, after that, Lex gets up to fight Fauna. In my opinion, Lex did get Fauna. Fauna did okay, but Lex won. Tavy came to jump in. So of course, Lex was mad about that. She was saying how the jumping shit is crazy, even though she's jumped people before, which we'll get into because she was acting like she had amnesia and she didn't remember jumping anybody. But as she should, she wanted to fight Tavy after because why you jumping in my fight with Fauna? Lex beat Tavy, in my opinion. Tavy ended up running into the crowd, and the crowd was trying to hype her up. They was chanting Tavy's name. I feel like they was just being fake because they don't like Lex, Summer, and Dolly. And I don't like them either, but I'm not going to lie about who won a fight. I don't like Lex, Summer, and Dolly, but they do win a lot of the fights that they have. I just don't like them. But the audience wasn't being real. They was sitting there trying to say Tavy won and chanting Tavy's name as if she did something. Like, no, Tavy lost. So you could tell Santana was already getting irritated. He was asking Summer and Dolly, what the fuck is up with y'all? Why y'all letting Tavy and Fonda jump Lex and y'all just sitting there? Y'all known for jumping and y'all jump any other time. Why y'all not jumping back now? So Tavy was hyped up because, like I said, the audience was hyping her up, making her think she won the fight with Lex. So Santana went over to Tavy and was like, oh, you need to run that with Dolly about snatching your chain while you got your momentum and while you hype. The Dolly and Tavy fight kind of felt like a tie. I did see Dolly trying to bite. And it ended with her trying to kick Tavy, but she kind of kicked herself to the ground. When she fell on the ground, Cold K was basically about to attack Dolly while she was on the floor. But Santana got in the middle of it, and Dolly was able to get up. So then Cold K and Dolly was able to get a fair round. But as soon as Cold K and Dolly started fighting, of course, K-Rican jumped in. And Santana started yelling at Summer and Lex again. Why are y'all letting each other get jumped at this reunion when throughout the season, y'all jump anybody? Y'all jump people for no reason. Summer and Dolly, for example, jumped Emma at the last reunion for no reason. So when y'all feel like jumping, y'all jump. Why y'all not jumping back when somebody is jumping one of y'all? It's not making sense. Lex is stupid and must think we're stupid and forgetful. She tries to say, oh, I don't never jump nobody after Santana tells them they known for jumping. Like, girl, do you not remember that you, Summer, and Dolly came out at the last reunion and jumped on Scotty? And that's what I'm talking about. 3 of y'all came out and jumped on Scotty. Scotty is not Tasiki. 3 people don't need to jump on Scotty. So y'all jump for bullshit, but y'all don't jump when y'all need to jump. Y'all don't jump when Tavy and Fauna on Lex. Y'all don't jump when K-Rican and Cold Killer on Dolly. But y'all jump Scotty and y'all jump Emma. That shit don't make no sense. And Santana was basically telling the pretty 3 that they wasn't wrong for jumping because they did get jumped all season. But he just trying to figure out why the big 3 ain't jumping back. Then Lex decided that she wanted to get some dialogue in. Like I said, I didn't care for these conversations. I feel like they conversations that go in circles that we've seen before. So first she started with Anna. Basically said Anna talks too much online. I'm not going to lie. Anna pretty much ducked that fade. She didn't want to fight Lex. And she basically told Lex she won't talk about her no more on social media. And the only reason she ever had a problem with Lex is because Lex had a problem with her friends. Then Lex moves on to Tavy, and she's basically like, let me explain why I snuck her on her birthday. And Tavy basically said, girl, I don't care for an explanation. I don't care for an apology. We don't have to talk about it. Lex says she was never going to apologize anyway. I feel like Lex is really trying to have these conversations to prove something to the fans rather than the people that she's actually talking to. Because Tavy's making it clear she don't care to have a conversation with you. Scotty also made it clear that she didn't care to have a conversation with Lex when Lex gets to her. But she kept talking because she's basically trying to prove to the audience, I'm not a hypocrite. And I'm not bullying girls who don't want to fight me like y'all saying online. But you are. And Lex is saying, oh, I didn't care if it was Tavy's birthday or not. I wanted to fight her that day. But on the show, you had literally told Tavy, I'm not going to fight you on your birthday. I'll wait until the day after. So you sat there and acted like you respected that it was her birthday and y'all was going to let y'all beef go for the day. But then you snuck her off guard on her birthday. And like Tavy said, I don't understand why you was even still fighting her. Y'all issue on the show started from nothing. We still don't even know why y'all beefing. Tavy got her chain. The next day, Lex got on a bus and had a random problem with Tavy for talking to Fauna, which had nothing to do with her. So it's like, where did this beef even start? For you to drag it out for the rest of the season and fight her multiple times like you did. And then, like I told y'all, Tavy knows she don't be winning those fights with Lex. So she was basically saying Lex had no reason to still be fighting her. Lex could have spared her on her birthday. This, that, and the third. While all of this is going on, you still see DTV walking back and forth, looking backstage, trying to find Natalie. So Tommy asked the golden question. Like, I'm still trying to figure out what was your initial problem with Tavy. So Lex says, I felt like Tavy was picking and choosing, and I said it. And Tavy was like, exactly, and that's where you effed up, because I don't pick and choose, which is true. I don't feel like Tavy pick and choose. She fought Lex over and over and over again, even though she knew she was going to lose every time. She might pick and choose when she's going to fight you, like she didn't want to fight on her birthday, but she will fight anybody. Then instead of us staying on the conversation that we having and letting Tommy clock the tea that Lex don't really got a problem with Tavy, here comes Summer inserting herself to say some bullshit. So Summer talking about, oh, Tavy wanted that with Ivory and Ivory not here. So Pretty P, are you going to fight Tavy? Are you going to take that for Ivory? I'm so glad Tavy and Pretty P didn't pay Summer no mind and didn't give in to that whatsoever, because they've been cool the whole time. So if Tavy and Ivory got beef now, that don't got nothing to do with Pretty P. So then Santana asked Lex what was the issue with Scotty, and Tommy and Santana both told Lex, like, you was on Scotty dick the whole season, so what's the issue? So yeah, I'm not going over this again. Lex kept saying every time she fought Scotty, she had a reason, whether those reasons were valid to us or not, which basically means she knows that those reasons are bullshit to the majority of people, but for whatever reason, she's convinced herself that she has a reason, and it really didn't matter, because Scotty kept telling her, I don't care what you got to say, I don't want to talk to you, I don't care for us to have no conversation. And Lex was like, oh, you can't tell me when to talk, you can't tell me when to shut up. And Scotty was like, yeah, but I could choose to not engage in this conversation. Because remember, all season, you thought you could tell Scotty when to talk. So she should be able to do the same thing to you. And as far as what happened on the first episode of this season, when Lex snuck Scotty, you know, Scotty was basically saying that's what started it back up with them this season, and Lex had no reason to sneak her. If Lex was still mad about the issues they had on Midwest, she could have asked Scotty for a fair fight. Lex says she don't feel like she could have done that because she was never able to get her hands on Scotty before, so she basically felt like she had to sneak Scotty. Similar to how DTV says she felt like she had to sneak Natalie before, because if she would have made it clear that she wanted to fight Natalie, Natalie would have been PC'd up. Then Lex brought up how Scotty and Anna jumped Summer on Midwest, so she felt like she could have her friend back. Anna said they didn't jump Summer, they tag teamed her. I would probably have to disagree. I think y'all did jump her. But like Scotty said, it's a jump for a jump because they came out on the Midwest reunion and they jumped her, like I said. So then Tavy jumps in and she's like, okay, so if the beef with Scotty is about the wig, can we just run everything concurrent? Which basically means you wanted to fight all of us about the wig. You could have just fought one person to just get it out the way. Like, you could have dealt with everybody at the same time by fighting one person. So Tommy was laughing at Tavy. She said Tavy was talking in court cases, but she was also just fed up with the whole Lex and Scotty thing. Like, wrap it up. And then Lex was like, oh, Tavy, you still talking for other people instead of talking about yourself, basically saying, why are you speaking for Scotty? So Tommy was like, okay, is the beef done or not? Lex was still rambling on and on. Scotty didn't give a fuck. And Janisha was like, okay, we not getting nowhere with this. And Lex going to say, yeah, we not getting nowhere because bitches don't know how to have conversations. She just don't care to talk to you no more. So from there, Janisha basically said she was ready to wrap this shit up. So let's get to the final thoughts. So when it was Summer turn, she basically said that the only person out of the Pretty 3 crew that was hitting on shit was Fauna. She said that Pretty P is fake and that she should have got that for Ivory, as far as, you know, the whole Tavy versus Ivory situation. Pretty P told Summer to shut the fuck up. And she said, Summer, you should have got that with me. Because Pretty P didn't even fight Summer tonight. Because Summer was really acting like she didn't want to fight like that. Because of her boobs, I guess. And then Summer and Anna start arguing back and forth per usual. So they tried to move on to Dolly. Summer and Anna was still going back and forth, talking over Dolly. But when Dolly finally got a chance to talk, she basically said she know that the fans don't like her. She don't give a fuck. And Dolly told all of the new girls she didn't care about getting to know them and she not going to see none of them, so it doesn't matter. I mean, she was wrong about that because Fauna, Tavy, and Cold Killer are back. So then it was Lex's turn. She basically said she liked Rolly. She said Pretty P is cool, which we know, Lex never really had a problem with Pretty P or DTB. Her issue was always just with Ivory. And then surprisingly, she told Cole K that she likes her too. And this was her facial expression, like, girl, how you like me? But Lex did apologize for fighting Cole K pretty much immediately. So I feel like she did always low-key like her, but it's weird. When it came to Scotty, she was just like, ugh, like disgust. When it came to Tavy, she basically said it's whatever. She feel like they've been there, done that. It's not really a point of them continuing to drag out that beef. And then when it came to Fauna, she told Fauna that she wasn't a real bitch. Fauna told Lex her character was flawed. They started going back and forth. We're not going to get too much into that. We could save it for Baddies USA, which will probably be on next week at this rate. And Lex tried to tell the fans to go buy her plushie doll, said she was the first baddie with a doll, and she said to go stream her song with Natalie called Snatch. The audience booed her ass. They didn't give a fuck. LC tried to call out K. Rican and basically say that K. Rican was talking about Tavy in an interview, but she's not standing on business today. And K. Rican basically said, I don't have a problem with Tavy. I wasn't talking about her in the interview. They asked me a question and I gave my honest opinion. And I think I saw the interview that LC's talking about. I think it was with Evaneer Entertainment or Evaner Entertainment on YouTube. And she basically was giving her opinion of how she felt about Tavy at the beginning of the season when they fought. Obviously, towards the end of the season, they was cool. So she was saying how she felt about Tavy at the beginning of the season. She didn't like her, but she wasn't talking about her like now. You know what I mean? So Elsie was just trying to lie and be messy again, in my opinion, which is her MO at this point. So Rican was calling Elsie out to fight. Elsie never got up, but they was arguing back and forth. Elsie telling Rican her body lopsided. Rican said my body's natural. Natural bodies are winning. Elsie said she's natural too, but she looks better than Rican. Rican said that Elsie's quote unquote husband is really her sugar daddy. So Janisha told K. Rican to sit down and then told her to give her final thoughts. Then when K. Rican started giving her final thoughts, Janisha gave K. Rican about 10 seconds to ramble and rant, and Janisha cut her off and was like, okay, next, Tavy. Tavy said she had a great time, even though she had a bunch of fights, and she don't got nothing bad to say about nobody. Then it was Cole K's turn. So Cole K was kind of saying the same thing that everybody else has said as far as, thank you to Zeus, thank you to the network. I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you, Natalie. And Summer got up and got irritated and walked off stage. She was like, I'm tired of these bitches. They all say the same thing. And Dolly ended up leaving too. Then when it came to Fauna, she basically said that, this side of the stage, the girl she was sitting with, Scotty, Rolly, Tommy, Pretty P, etc., showed her sisterhood. And the girls on the other couch were haters and she don't got nothing to say to them. Anna was basically saying she knows she didn't get to experience Africa with everybody else, but she still had a great time and she F with everybody on the side of the stage that she's on. So then Summer starts yelling from backstage, yeah, and you never will get to experience Africa, bitch, da 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 da. And Anna was like, Summer, shut up, your pussy still smells like fish. Pretty P was basically just talking about how she was grieving this whole season. When she came on the season, her grandpa was already in hospice. She knew he probably wasn't going to make it. Then he passed away. She had to go to the funeral and she still came back and, finished the season out. So everybody gave her props for that. She was emotional. Pretty P is my girl. So even though it seems like she's not going to be on USA, maybe she'll be a special appearance, but she's definitely not on the full season. I am happy with the way she left Baddies if this was the end of her Baddies tenure. So DTB had came back out on stage, new wig, new outfit, new makeup. She looks like a new person, right? She looks good. She's put back together. But she basically said her final thoughts is that Natalie needs to line that shit up. Scotty's final thoughts were shady. She basically said she's that bitch and nobody's ever going to shut her up. And when she said it, she kind of looked at Lex and she was like, yeah, and that's that. So Lex was like, see, she looks right at me as she says it. She's throwing shade at me. And then if I want to fight, I'll be wrong. And then Scotty said, thank you to the host. Y'all both look amazing. And that's it. Janisha said thank you. It was a little delayed, but she did say thank you. And Rolly was basically giving what sounded like her farewell speech, even though we know she's now on Baddies USA, so she didn't end up leaving Baddies for real anyway. But she basically was saying, she feel like she made her mark. She's thankful for the platform, but at this point, she's tired and she's had enough. She's trying to build her brand outside of this show, this, that, and the third. And Tommy basically said, I know Rolly was kind of playing that house mom role, but I'm still going to be around and I am older than most of y'all. I do feel like some of the stuff y'all fight over is petty. So if I'm here, I am going to try to be that person who's like the voice of reason and could guide y'all through some of the BS that y'all be going through. Hopefully Tommy stays on this maturity kick. You know, I don't know how believable it is for me being that 6 months ago to a year ago on Midwest you were shooting people. But, you know, the maturity looks good on you if it's real. So while Tommy was giving her maturity speech and her final thoughts, Tavy says, "Hey Tommy, I have a question for you, and it's a serious question." Now, this kind of gave me some insight as to why Tavy and Tommy might have beef on Baddies US. So Tavy brings back up the shooting and says, "How did somebody run into your bullets?" Tommy basically asks the audience, like, did I walk up to Rolly and pop her, or did she walk up to me while I was just standing there minding my business? And the audience basically agreed with Tommy that she was just minding her business and Rolly and Tinkerbella was walking up on her. But you could tell that Tommy was irritated and she was like, "Yeah, so there's your answer. Fuck out of here." Then Janisha gonna say, "Is Bobby here for final thoughts?" He was not there. Probably was backstage doing a line. So then Saucy gave his final thoughts and basically said he did gain a new respect for the Pretty Three at this reunion. And Janisha basically told them that she was proud of them for elevating, building their brands, doing stuff outside of the show, you know, making names for themselves. She said that's the whole point of this. You get on this show, you get an opportunity, and you're supposed to pivot and make something out of yourself so that if Baddies ends, you could still be somebody. And that was the end of the reunion. So for Baddies Africa Reunion Episode 3, my most valuable OGs were DTB, Tommy, and Scotty. My least valuable OG was Natalie. My most valuable newgies were Pretty P and Dolly. My least valuable newgies were Lex and Summer. My most valuable newbies were Fauna and Cole K. And my least valuable newbies were Tavy and Elsie. Okay, y'all, so that's my Baddies Africa Reunion Episode 3 review slash recap. If you're watching me on TikTok, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube. And if you're watching me on YouTube, make sure you follow me on TikTok. My next videos coming up as far as Baddies will be the Baddies Africa season ranking, where I rank the season compared to other seasons. And I rank each individual baddie and I give them like a B, C, D, F. And then I'll also be doing a Baddies USA /trailer video this week before the season drops, because I'm pretty sure Baddies USA Episode 1 is probably going to be dropping next Sunday. So, yeah. All right, so I'll see y'all later. Bye.